Welcome back to another episode of the Christmas 2020 Countdown. Today we have Stuart Foxall tying the Darth Wader Intruder fly. First we're starting off with an articulated shank, and we're going to put in some dumbbell eyes at the front. First we're wrapping some tying thread on the shank, and then we're going to do a figure of 8 pattern over the eyes to secure them. You're going to have to do quite a lot of turns to make sure that this is rock solid, but it'll be worth it for the finished fly. Add in little bits of super glue now and then to just keep this nice and rock solid. Just take your time until you feel that it's nice and secure, and then work your way up the shank. Next we're just going to measure in our intruder wire using a purple wire with the hook attached, just so that we can see exactly where it's going to go. You see Stuart is lining everything up with his hook in line with the back of the loop and the eye at the shank, the end of the shank there. Once it's happy, you just take the hook off until you're ready to finish the fly. Get plenty of turns onto the shank so that it's nice and secure, and then finish it off with some super glue, and there's no way that that wire will ever slip. If you want to be triple sure, fold back the wire and tie that in as well. Then just use your tying thread to neaten everything up and flatten it down to the body. Now we can start building the fly. Well, Stuart's going to use two different techniques on this fly to show you how you can make intruders. One is using a composite loop, and the other is just wrapping materials around the fly. But most importantly, to flare the materials, you're using a small dubbing ball here, much the same way that I do it on the guitar strings as well. You're going to use the thread to work back the fibers of the materials in the back section here, pushing up against the ball so that the materials will flare, and Stuart's going to show you how this works. At first we put in the ball, and then we just brush it out a little bit for some extra flash in the fly. So to start the composite loop, we're just going to line the thread with a little bit of wax, and then pull the thread over the top to make a loop and tie that in. Now we have a nice space to fit in the materials that we're going to use. Line the thread with a little bit more wax before you start. So first we're using some foxtail fibers, Spread nice and thin right through the loop. Then we're going to start twisting. As you start twisting the loop, just gently pull out any of the fibers that are starting to ball up too much. You want to get plenty of turns in so that these are nice and secure onto the loop. Keep pulling out any fibers that you want to have into the fly. And when you're happy, we can start winding it onto the body. Pull back the fibers as you go. And lock them into place. Now, just like any other materials, you can now trim away this waist section of thread. Next, we're going to tie in some flash in blue and purple holographic. These are going to wrap right around the body. As you can see, Stuart likes to fold over the strands of flash and tie them in that way so that you can just cut through the loops, and that's your doubled back materials. It's a good way to make use of all the materials because quite often you can just cut them off and that's them gone. Next, we're going to wrap some rhea hackle fibers. You can also use ostrich feathers for this. But now you're going to be able to see how these soft fibers can be made to flare out the more you work your thread back towards that dubbing ball. It's also really important to know at this stage that you want all of these fibers to be at different lengths. That's how intruders that are tied well end up looking really nice. Those that don't look so great usually are because they've been tied into the same length. They end up looking like a bit of a blob. So just add in as much as you think looks good on the fly. And then we're going to add in a few more strands of pearl flash, just for a different tone on the fly. Again, the materials have been doubled, so you can just cut through the loop there, and then double them back. Definitely saves you wasting the materials. And now you can see Stuart is going to work the thread back. Watch as the fibers start to flare out. Now you see it as it unwinds, they start to collapse a little bit. And then forward again, they'll start to flare out. This is a great technique to get the most out of your materials. Now next we're going to use a flat braid. This is a pearl holographic and it's going to form the body of the fly. Keep working your way up with overlapping turns. Just need to make sure to leave enough room between the eye and the body so you can fit your forward materials. So next we're going to add our second dubbing ball, and this is going to help flare the materials the same as it has at the back of the fly. A little bit smaller, and brush it out again. So now we're going to do the second technique for wrapping the fox hair. Instead of a dubbing loop, this time we're just going to place the materials all in one and wrap them 360 around the body and tie them in. So we'll tie them in forward first. And then pull them back all the way around the fly. And you'll see in just a couple of steps we've managed to achieve exactly the same result as using a dubbing loop that's far more complicated and takes much more time. Next we're going to repeat the process with our flash, some blue and purple holographic. Double them back, 360 around the fly and tie it in. Pushing the materials back towards that dubbing ball to flare them out again. Next we're going to add in some shorter rhea and ostrich feathers. These are wrapping all the way around the body as well. Try to make sure that all of the barbs are at different lengths. Get them spread all the way around as nice and even as possible. And when you're happy, trim away the waste. Same again, we're just going to add in some pearl flash. And double it back. Then we're going to use a black cock hackle just to finish off the head of the fly. last thing to add to this fly is a little wing section, and we're going to use 2 hen hackles. As usual, to finish off the fly, we're going to use some glue on our thread and then just get plenty of turns in to lock everything off. Complete with a whip finish just to make sure everything is super secure. So there you have it, that's the Darth Wader. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, comment down below and tell us what you want to see next. We'll see you all very soon. Tight lines.